what would you say are the key components to telling a story, whether it's a business, whether it's somebody's story that you've just captured, someone's life story. What do you think are the important things that come through, when you're telling a story? Is it all about the detail and the logistics, or is it more about the essence and the, like the real core emotional side of things? Like, what do you find are the key components to a good story?
Well, a good story needs structure. That's the first thing. When you watch any type of movie, there's a structure to it, and there's these are set rules in the industry. When you're telling a story, there's it comes up and down. So when you're telling a story, you want to stick to a structure and stick to a timeline. Now you can break the rules a little bit, but a timeline's usually good. So when I'm sitting down with a client, I usually like to start with I get the heritage out of the way in the beginning. Where were you born? Tell me about your mom and dad. Let's go back as far as you possibly can remember. And then I'll start to go into some key stories in their childhood. And then we talk about their adult life. And then we go into some principles and morals they've lived their life around. And what the best thing about that is that one question can lead into 4 or 5 different answers. And they can touch on a lot of different things. So let the client talk. Let the client talk, and don't get too detailed. Let them be themselves, because they have to also find their flow. A lot of clients, again, are a little nervous, but once they start going, they get it and they find it. And then near the ending, the best thing that I always love to do, because we use video to transcend time literally, I love the fact that I know that, your great grandchildren can watch their great great grandmother. And so we bridge those generations. And so I always ask at the end, imagine it's 70 years from now, what would you like to say? Because that question is an encapsulation of the times we live in, right? And times are always changing. And so that's a good flow, I find, and that's a good timeline I like to abide by.
Yeah, and I think that works really great for for yourself, for your types of videos, for share your story. And I think though that that's also a great general way to approach storytelling. So whether these are again, content creators, entrepreneurs, whoever that want to create video content for themselves, having a structure is really great. It doesn't have to be super strict, but it's great to have a beginning, a middle, and an end, to have that, like that arc, like you're saying, right? What's the intro? What's maybe, argument number 1, number 2, number 3, and then the conclusion, which is obviously an essay format, but that's, again, a good format to stick by. And then when you have, those rules, and I remember from improv classes that the more structure you do have, the more creativity and freedom that you have to work within that structure. If you have no structure whatsoever, in a way, you're all over the place, and it's harder to be creative. It's actually easier to be creative when you have restrictions, And so having that structure and that arc and that flow and, applied to each and every one of your videos, it comes across more professional. It helps dictate and articulate the information in a better and more concise, simplistic way. And then ultimately, it's just a better story, right?
Yeah. And people remember, there's an old saying, people remember how you made them feel. So we're emotional beings. So when someone starts talking about something emotional, let it go, let it happen, let it flow, let them talk about that, because you're going to really get some beautiful core stories of a person's life when they actually start getting deep and vulnerable.
I think that's a great point to actually bring up too. Then there's the structure, there's the organizational elements of a story that are important. But then, what the emotion, right? Like the human element of a story is so important. And even if it's business, we know that business these days is becoming more and more humane, emotional based, and certainly becoming more authentic to the people that are in that business. So the more open you are, the more yourself you are representing your business, the better it comes across, because people actually resonate with you being a human. And maybe you slip up, you make a couple of mistakes. Who cares? Leave it in there. It's kind of, blah, blah, I fumbled my words and I'm going to laugh at it and then just carry on. And look at me, I made a mistake. I'm human too.